Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cooper Naylor Show, the newest podcast here on Savor Broadcast Network. And we are so glad that you have decided to join us here on the channel and here on this podcast. So just a little detail about what we're going to be doing here. Um, so this is every Sunday because today's April 16th. So I've planned out for quite a while. I've got episodes planned out. So um right now what I've got is I've got episodes planned all the way to May 14th. So of course we'll be figuring out what else we're going to be doing sometime later. But um so yeah, today's episode is the first one, and really I think this is an episode where you first introduce the viewers to like a lot, telling them about a lot about yourself. And so today I want to talk about my journey through Christianity and just let y'all have an honest view of what, where I stand on things as far as Christianity wise. So, as you might suspect from the videos in the past and right now, I am a Christian, and it's a big part of my life. And so really, I've always been in the church. My parents always have gone to church. So ever since I remember, I've always, well, most Sundays I've been at church. Um, I want to say 5 when I was baptized. So, of course, I believed very early on. And, um, and really, um, I I had accepted everything that I was, because I remember I was given a pamphlet whenever I had first said I want to be saved. And so I had this pamphlet that I got from church, and my mom sat on the bed in my bedroom with me and read it to me. And I believed everything it said. And that is like, do you believe that Jesus died on the cross for all of our sins so that we could go to heaven? I said yes. Because at the time, I guess my mind thought it was so simple, which it it is simple. But I feel like in today's world a lot of people don't find it simple to think about. So I accepted it really quick. And I have been a believer since I was 5 years old. Right now, I'm 17, so this has been about 12 years ago. And so I was baptized. It was in October. I can't believe. So I would have been nearing my 6th birthday when I was baptized. It was 2011, and so it's been quite a while. Um, yeah, that it's been a while, so I don't remember every single detail, but I do remember when it was, and how, and you just kind of like the details. And I remember that it was it was a big moment in my life. I was only 5 at the time. And so that really was the beginning of what has been a it's been, Christianity isn't always easy, but it's always something that I have, and I mean, I love that I've been able to learn more about God, and then um be able to share as much as I have here on the YouTube channel. That's where I've done most of my sharing, I feel like, and that's the way I do it, is by coming here in front of a camera and telling y'all about Christ, and that's where I feel comfortable doing it as well. Um so of course I've always been going to church. So the church I got baptized at, that was Westmead Baptist Church in Decatur, Alabama. that was where we were going at the time. So, fast forward a few years, um, we've been we've been to a bunch of churches. So I can remember, I remember certain churches, but the next church we end up at was Faith Baptist Church, and it's in the Caddo area of Alabama. It's like in between Moulton and Decatur. So it's in Lawrence County, but it's like in between. So I mean, it wasn't a big church like what Westmead was, because Westmead, it was a pretty big is a pretty big church, and Faith is a smaller church. So that I remember that was where I remember that Wednesday nights my mom would teach the class there at Faith, and it was really just it was a important time in my life, I feel, because I grew I kind of grew up there at the time. I can't remember how old I was, but I believe I was going into like the 6th grade. That I from the time I was 6th grade was when we left, I believe. But I want to say I was like in 1st grade when we started going there. So that's a good chunk of time as a child. Of course, Wednesday nights had my mom teaching. That was fun. Um, and then of course, though, since it's been a few years, that's something I've forgotten a little bit about what exactly all happened there. And so yeah, I learned more and more about God, and really that was I would say the years at Faith as far as me as a child, and not, I didn't completely understand everything that went on as far as like surrounding me at the time, but like it was probably some of the easiest times of my life, I would say. So let's see. Fast forward after 6th grade, we leave Faith Baptist Church, and um and then comes when that searching for a church is more of a, I guess, like, now I'm starting to understand a little bit more about what goes into looking for the church that fits for you. And um and really, I will say this about churches. You have to go to the one that fits your beliefs. That's really my Christianity journey, is what I'm calling this episode. Um Finding where your beliefs is a huge thing, because you have to find the church where you line up with your beliefs, because that's the big thing, is that I feel like a lot of people, they go to a church because, oh, this is where my friends are at, and this is where where I feel comfortable. But let's be honest about this, though. Is going to a church just to be there for your friends, is that really the purpose? Well, that was a big question that me and my family were having. And I believe I was, in this, going into 6th grade, and we found Fairview Baptist Church, it, and we liked what was being preached, but it was also we also found some people we knew, which it helps knowing people that you're going to be going to church with. But at the same time, is it, you know, we, I don't know if it's really going to be beneficial, because until you get into the church and see every little thing, you don't exactly know what you're getting into. So we were there for about, I would say, a year and a half, I think. And then left that church. So at this point, you're sitting here, you're listening to this, and you're like, wow, you've been to a lot of churches in just 17 years. Well, yes, I have. But you know, but the churches we've left in the past have been not, you know, it hasn't lined up completely with what we believe. And you're not going to get the complete package as far as what you believe to what the church believes. But it's to a certain extent where if you stay, then people may look at you and be like, well, you talk one way, but then you believe this way because you go to this certain church. So, um, so that is part of why we ended up leaving Fairview, is just some differences in belief. And then so we take some time, search for a church, and we end up going to a smaller church. Like this is probably the smallest church we've ever been to, and that was Mosaic. And it was, and we knew some people that were in the church because the people we knew, basically it was like the majority of it was their family, which was a pretty big family. And then you had some other people that were just basically like some friends that had kind of gotten the church together, and that's how it came to be. And really, that again was more about the beliefs, and just we we didn't line up with what they believed. So that we were there for about a year, again, about a year and a half, and then we ended up leaving because we get into, and really, again, it's about how long you're there as far as being a member and seeing every little thing and actually being involved in church, because until you really get involved in the church, you don't really know what it's like at that certain church. So so we're searching and searching. It, as you can see, all these churches that I've named off have been the Baptist church. So, the Baptists. So we're starting to think, maybe we just don't line completely up with the Baptists, which is, not anything against the Baptist church. It's just that we didn't line up completely with some of the stuff they believed and what we believed. So that's all that was to it. So then we are searching, and so let's see. So we take a walk, like long process, and really okay. And really there's been big gaps in between us leaving a church and then joining a church, because it was our discernment process is what it is, because I didn't understand why we took so long. But if you think about it, and really where we are now, we've gone through discernment processes before. And I got to think about it, and I'm like, that's what it was. We had just been going through our own family discernment processes when we leave churches, and we're looking and trying to find where we fit. So we leave Mosaic. That's about I believe the beginning of, it may have been somewhere around, like, I think it's at the end of 2020. So now comes the difficult part, and where I feel like my Christianity journey really, like, I really started to understand. Okay. So I want to say that it was early 2019 that um that my dad had to go to the doc. He's been going to the doctor for a while because he has this kidney disease, and they're trying to find out more. And he had been going to some doctors in Decatur, Alabama, and just couldn't find the doctor that really could help him to the best of his ability. So, ended up he went to Vanderbilt up there in Nashville, Tennessee. So, where we lived, it's about 2 hour drive north of where we live. So, um, we figure out that he needs to have a kidney transplant. And at the time, our friends from Mosaic, they we were good friends, and we had he our friends their dad decided he would donate the kidney to my dad. So, um and so they had to go through a process at the doctor to figure out whether or not you're eligible to donate, like if you got the same blood type and all that kind of stuff. So come to find out, he's he can do it. So that is really I would say that was a huge relief at the time, figuring out that my dad would be able to get a kidney from our friend. And really, it was a blessing. And so, so they skip. So this is September. Whenever we figure this all out, that boom, we can do it. My dad's going to get a kidney from our friend. And so, scheduling December 31st, 2019. That date will always be in my mind because it's the last day of the year, New Year's Eve, and really it's a great day because that's when my dad got his new kidney. So let's see. So you go forward December 30th, and my parents go up to Nashville. They meet up with our friends, and they go out to eat. Now the doctors have told them that you need to eat very light because surgery's going to be in the morning, and you don't want to eat something big. Well, my dad plays it smart. He eats, I believe he got I think it's a salad he got, very small thing. Our friend, on the other hand, he uh he got himself a huge burrito, I believe is what they said, and it was from a Mexican restaurant, so that thing was probably pretty big. So, you get up the next morning, and both of them go into surgery for it, and we had a lot of confidence going in. Everything's going to be fine, but there's always that one sense in the back of your head, like, what if there was some kind of complication? So they go through. Dad's surgery's fine. But and then our friend's surgery, it goes fine, but because he ate something really big, it made him sick. So that went down, and then he had other little complications afterward, and a lot of it was just due to not really taking care of himself. So yeah, you have that happen. And then January 1st, 2020 is the day that me and my brothers and our grandmother was who was keeping us at the time, while our dad and our mom were in Nashville. And then it was me, my two brothers, our grandmother, and then our aunt and uncle. We all drove up there to go see them and see how everything went. And my dad was doing good. And we went and walked with him because that was a big thing, was that the doctors wanted him to get up every so often, go walk with a walker, because when you're after your surgery, you don't really want to get up and walk if you're the patient, but it's good for you. So, especially with him having that kidney surgery, that they wanted him to get up and walk. So we walked around the hospital with him. Of course, he didn't go far because this is the day after his surgery. So everything goes well. We're sitting there, we're watching football on the TV that's in there while the doctors come back and forth, taking care of him, and we're talking. And I will never forget this. That it's about, I want to say, It's getting near 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And we're fixing to have to go. And we're all telling our parents goodbye. Like we'll see them whenever they get back or whatever. And I just simply because I I believe so wholeheartedly in what I believe in Christianity that I just tell my dad everything's going to be okay because God's with us and we have nothing to worry about. And at the time I said it, I mean, for me, it just seemed like second nature. Like, you know, this is obvious. Like, God's with us through everything. So, come to find out months later, and we're just sitting there talking after everything. And my dad's like, one of the biggest things that I take that one of the biggest things that helped me throughout this whole thing when after my surgery was when you told me that God's with us and everything's going to be fine. And that was a moment where I sat and thought, like again, like I was like, it's just second nature for me, but it's so true. And a lot of people in that situation may not think that at the time. So, really, it was a big moment. Now, up until that time, he told me this. He did have some little complications. Um, One of the sad things that did happen though is he now um he did end up getting gout. So um so now he deals with gout off and on. Here recently he had gout in his arm and it was hard for him to move his arm. That's always hard to watch. Him dealing with gout because it really does affect what he can do. Excuse me. Um, so, of course, let's see. We get to about April. I think it's about April that year, and of course, COVID's in. So now COVID's pushed him going back to work back a while. So he was scheduled after he had his surgery to go back. I believe it was like March. He was supposed to go back to work, but ended up because of COVID that got pushed back to about May of 2020 that he finally got to go back to work. Um, so 2020, everything's going well. Um, can't for everything's going well, and then here comes Christmas 2020, and well, the bad happens because my dad's kidney transplant. He cannot, like, he's got a very small immune system. Like, it's if he were to get COVID, it could be really bad. And that's exactly what happened around Christmas. Is he got COVID, and that was hard to watch because he was so sick that eating or drinking anything at all, like, he just couldn't do it. Like, he had no energy left. He just couldn't, like, he would drink a little bit and then he would go and take the water and dump it down the toilet because he couldn't do it. Like, he just was not thirsty. And so, and mind you, he's a guy who's, I think he's supposed to be around 200, I think, as far as his weight. That's, I think that's about where he needs to be. So this, talk about, this is the skinniest he had ever gotten while I've known him. Like, he lost so much weight and he just, it was bad. So, um, so ends up my parents end up going to Nashville, and he gets to the doctor, and come to find out that he he got fluids. He ended up getting better, but had he not gone to the doctor when he did, things could have got really bad, like even worse. It was already really, really bad. But you're talking about he could have that like thank God that he got there when he did, because if had he not, then it would have been a whole lot worse, and who knows what could have happened. So he gets fluids and everything, and they figure out the medicine he had been taking for his kidney was attacking him because of COVID. So, with that being said, they they get everything adjusted, and he's fine. And to this day, he is really healthy. He goes to work every day, well, mostly every day, and he works. He works, and he's just back to being his old self, being just the one of the nicest gentlemen you'll ever meet in this world. He's just a non-confrontational guy. He not going to pick a fight with you. He's going to sit there and and he'll talk to you for a while, and he's just a very nice guy to talk to. And um so yeah, that was December of 2020, I believe. So that was, yeah, that was crazy. And we got through it. And that was it was hard, because that gave me another definition of just showing me like how God is there through everything. And had he not been there, like, because in my personal belief, had God not been in my life, then where would I be during these situations? My dad's going through a kidney transplant. And I believe God's with me. But had I not had God, then who knows? I may not, I don't know what I'd be like. So God gave me the faith to know, even though I can't see him, I know he's there. I know he's protecting me. He, and nothing he does is a mistake. And really, like watching my dad and like seeing, like, before, like when he had COVID, and just seeing that he got to the doctor on time. And then another thing is that we didn't know if my mom would be able to go back with him, because during the COVID, you remember that a lot of patients had to go by themselves to the doctor and could not have anyone with them. But it it was a blessing to hear that the security guard let my mom go back there with him. Because had he not had my mom, then who knows what would have happened? Would he want to actually fight COVID? Like, would he actually want to fight it if he had no faith in the fact that he's by himself in the hospital? So that was that was one of those situations that really, I feel like, shaped me into the Christian I am today. And that is that just I've come through that. And so um but this is not the end of the story of how I've grown in faith. So fast forward, late October of 2021, and it's my mom's birthday, and we go to Nashville again just for my mom's doctor's appointment, because they both my mom and dad start getting all these appointments in Nashville because the doctors, they like them up there, so might as well go. So it's my mom, my grandmother, and my two brothers and me that are going. And and I will never forget, because um so we're sitting in the car waiting for our mom, and the car battery, we left the car on for quite a while. ends up that my mom goes to crank the car back up after we turned it off. Once she came back, it wouldn't come on. So luckily, though, we were across the street from, I can't remember if it's AutoZone or O'Reilly Auto Parts. Got We got a thing to jump the car off. Car was fine after that. And that was that was really funny. And it was something I remember um from that time because this will play a big role, but my grandmother, I remember she came back to the car and she was like, "I'm sorry, they just wanted to keep watching the movie." Because the van we were driving, it had the DVD player in there so we could watch a movie. And we were watching the movie and just talking and So and I'm really thankful for this, but I was sitting there, I talked to my grandmother a lot, like walking next to her, and she had to stop a couple times to go and just sit on those benches in the mall because she just came out of energy, She's I mean, the lady is 78 years old. I mean, she got around so good for 78 years old. Uh like you would never think she's 78 with how good she got around. So, and I really talked to her a lot that day. Come to find out, that was the last time I would actually talk to her in person because a few days later, um, she wouldn't pick up the phone and we went in. So we had to go to her house. We were going to go check on her and come to find out she had passed away in her sleep. So, and she was almost like a best friend. Or let me rephrase it. She was my best friend because throughout my life, I've had a lot of situations where I'll be friends with people for a little bit, but then, friends just come and go. But my grandmother, she's, forever my grandmother. And she was really like a best friend because me and her, we'd sit down and talk. We could sit there and talk all day long. I mean, just about anything. And she was like a best friend. And so, um, ended up a few days later was her funeral. And because she was like a best friend, I had to say some words at her funeral because I felt like I I felt like I was obligated to because I felt like this was the person that I like she was my best friend, so I had to. Like I felt like she would have wanted me to. So that right there, and I feel like not a lot of people would be able to get up there and actually speak at your grandmother's funeral like that if you're that close. Like it was, and really and truthfully, most of it's a blur because it was such a moment of, it was a sad moment that I don't remember a lot of it. But the thing that got me to thinking is after the funeral that a lot of people I would pass when, because we had a little reception afterward that we just basically ate. It was just basically family and just close friends who stayed to eat a little bit and just comfort the family through the situation. Most people that I passed by, they would stop me and be like, "Hey, I heard what you said at the funeral, and it was you could really tell how close you were with her." So that reminded me through the whole situation of going through that, you know, that I know where she's at. She's in heaven. It hurts, but that that I have faith that I will see her again one day, and that I'm going to get through this, and I'm going to be strong for my family, and we're going to be fine. So you've heard a couple different things through my life that it's been hard. So I want to ask you this, because in my personal opinion, nothing God has done is a mistake in my life. Because I believe these situations, it comes to a certain question that like a certain test he's putting you to. Where are you going to stand when, like, who are you going to lean on when times get tough? And it's the ultimate test a Christian can go through, I feel like, is when you are dealing with a situation and you've got to choose, am I going to be on the side of anger and spite, and I want to destroy that person because of what they've done? Or are you going to hand it all to God and be like, God, I know my life is very difficult right now, but I give it to you to say, hey, you're going to get me through this. So today, if anything from what you've heard, from what I've had to say, what is that going to be? Is this is this a podcast where you're going to take it that from my experiences that excuse me, from my experiences that God is going to be with you? Or is it one of those that, how could you sit there and believe that God is there when you have to deal with this tragedy? And then a lot of things people want to say is, why did bad things happen to good people? Well, my answer for that is how I've gone through it. Is that God is testing you in these situations, and God's there. He wants you to choose him, to choose God, to choose to believe, because he is going to be with you. So that's my Christianity journey. I hope that this has been a powerful episode for you. And really, I think this is a very heavy topic to talk about, because let me tell you that this is not easy to talk about when it comes to talking about the loss of your grandmother or your dad's kidney transplant. It's not easy, but because God's on my side, that I have the strength that I can talk about it with just remembering that he got me through it. And so that will conclude the episode. Next week, I'm going to be talking about 4-H, which is something that is an escape for me because I love 4-H so much. And so I hope that you'll join us next week. So with that, thanks for watching, and we will see you again next week.